If you've ever sat in therapy and walked away feeling like you were the problem, this episode is for you. Today, we're going to talk about why traditional therapy, especially sex therapy or couples therapy, fails highly functioning women and what actually works instead. You've built a life. On paper, it's perfect. But behind the scenes, you're holding it all together and slowly losing yourself in the process. Welcome to The Pleasure Principles. I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, intimacy strategist for high-functioning women, naturopathic doctor, author of The Pink Canary, and creator of The Pleasure Path. I work with high-achieving women who are wildly successful in their careers, yet silently unraveling in their relationships, their bodies, and their bedrooms. This podcast is your space to stop performing, start receiving, start unlearning the beliefs and conditioning that got you here. We speak truths that most women keep buried about desire, about burnout, power dynamics, and what it really takes to feel feminine, supported, and turned on again. Each week, I'll share research, truths, real-life tools, and the science of intimacy that actually works for high-achieving women like us. Because you're not broken. You've been given the wrong script when it comes to sex, arousal, and desire. And this is your initiation into pleasure-centered relationships, feminine power, and a life and sex that feels good without effort. So how many times have you been in therapy and heard some version of this? And the fact that it came in a multiple of 3 for me last week, I knew you all needed to hear this. Why sex therapy failed and what high-functioning women actually need to hear and actually need to be doing. How many times have you heard, perhaps if you communicated better or you communicated your needs more clearly, then he would respond better? Okay, sneaky way of placing the onus on the woman to fix the relational issues, ignoring the partner's role and the broader power dynamics at play. And then we have the classics. The maybe you just need a glass of wine. Have you taken a bath? What are you doing for self-care? Where again, we are putting the onus on the overly functioning woman, usually the person that is doing too much in the relationship, and ignoring the underfunctioner, ignoring the partner doing less. And probably the most concerning example is my client said, I tried to explain to him that I wanted to work with you. And she basically said that he didn't get it, and they discussed it in therapy. And the therapist said that it was a bad idea because I'm growing in a different direction without him. So we're taught to fear our growth. Okay. Therapy is framing her growth as the problem, not the unequal foundation that relationship is built on. And in what world, if your husband came to you and said, hey, I found this, I want to do this thing. I found this thing online. It's going to help me work with my anger issues. It's going to help me work on my emotional availability. Hell, I found this coach that's going to teach me about sex skills on how to get you off. In what world would we not want our partner working on his side of the street? So fundamentally, again, we have a flaw with therapy. They're working with the relationship most times. Okay, trying to save the relationship, but not looking at what each person needs individually. And let me just say that in all 3 of these cases, all 3 of these couples have been in therapy for over a year with little progress, or the classic, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Maybe a little progress, like a little breadcrumbing, just enough to keep you around or enough to think it's changing. But then the same fights keep happening, the same issues keep creeping up. I'm going to explain why that is in this episode. I just want to say I have been that person, the person on the therapist's couch tears, snot running down my face. I think I was also pregnant. I was labeled as the emotional, too sensitive, controlling, expecting too much. And I would leave feeling like, why can't I fix this? Why can I fix other people's marriages, help them to have pleasure centered relationships? Why can't I fix my own? What is wrong with me? But it was a system problem. Okay. Now listen, we start to get scared. We start to think that we have to shrink our needs, our desires. We start to get gaslit by systems, which I'm going to get into in detail today. And we think, I need to stay and shrink. I need to stay and pretend that the anniversaries and staying together is some sort of prize that outweighs the cost of what being in this unfulfilling relationship is, which we know it is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We know that single women are happier, having better sex, live longer. Okay, so we can't continue to gaslight ourselves into thinking that being in an unhappy, sexless marriage doesn't have its cost. So I have been that woman. I have sat there, I have cried, I have gaslit myself, I have been gaslit by therapists. But watch out now if you automatically thought of the Beatnuts song when I said that. DM me, let's be friends. I have learned. Okay. I have the scars, the hospital visits to prove it. I have lived it myself, walked through the other side, and now can help teach my clients to create pleasure-centered relationships, even when it seems impossible, even when you think your needs won't be met, because it starts with you. The journey starts with you. I'm going to read you a client text. Okay, these are from my mentorship ladies. They're a little further down the pleasure path, but they were you. They were in the sexless relationships, feeling unfulfilled, not desired. And listen now. Okay, I had the worst night on call last night, but we had such a great session this afternoon. Blank was fingering me and using the vibrator. And then he fucked my tits, which was so hot. And I didn't have to do anything but enjoy it. Okay, this is queen level slut skills from a high achiever. Okay, note, I did not have to do anything but enjoy it. Receiving, all about her pleasure. And she just came off of a very shitty shift. Okay, things didn't need to be perfect, and she learned how to receive. This is from a sexless marriage. This was like, I think our next option is going to be divorce. And look at them now. Another client came back from a road trip feeling exhausted but fulfilled. House was empty, no plans, which is rare for them on a Saturday. She said, I was still tired and have not been into having nighttime sex for a long time, but I initiated. It was so relaxing yet juicy. Okay, so she initiated sex, a high achiever initiating sex. And she initiated sex that she felt like at that time, relaxing and juicy. And I'm telling you this because these clients came to me very disconnected in their relationships, and they did not see a way forward. They thought if they grew, they might grow apart. They might have to divorce. They thought all the fears that you will think listening to an episode like this. But you can walk down the pleasure path with me and end up with a pleasure-centered relationship like those clients. So let's talk about this. You can end up with a pleasure-centered relationship like those clients, and you need to stop listening to stupid bullshit and outdated ideas and stop listening to people that are not in your situation or don't understand what's at play. So let me get into this. Why therapy is not working for high achieving women like us. It's not that therapy is broken. It's not that therapy doesn't work. It's that it was not built for high achieving women like us with super traits and with power dynamics. So there are very few therapists, very few, that will be able to identify these right out of the gate. Therapy, and even I have this issue with some medical things. We like to pathologize things. We like to give them names. We can get stuck in story a lot. Okay. So we're pathologizing pain instead of naming power dynamics. And this is a big, big problem. So I would like to invite you to the idea that you're not controlling. You're exhausted from having to ask on repeat for basic support. Or maybe you're not asking because it's just easier to do it yourself. Okay, you're not just too anxious. You're carrying the emotional load of multiple people. Okay, your pussy knows she's smarter. She doesn't want to let somebody in that she has to overfunction for. Not long term. And the issue with this dynamic, so the therapeutic lens, we see the overfunctioning. We often label that person as codependent. But what therapy does not see is the underfunctioning. Therapy goes to the lowest common denominator. So it meets at the level of the underfunctioning partner. And let's think about this. Do you want to suck the dick of a man who you have to ask 15 times to do the same thing? Do you want to be intimate with somebody, like truly open, let go, whose response is to throw a tantrum, an adult tantrum, that your libido is low? So libido, desire, arousal cycles, these are multifactorial. They're biopsychosocial. Okay, we've got lots of factors at play. This is why it's never just one thing. And I've dedicated the last 10 years of my life to looking into this, especially for high achieving women. Okay, but if there's a man that shows up, like a man that shows up to therapy, and he's like, she doesn't want to have sex enough, she's the problem. Why is his libido the default? And because the opposite, I deal with a lot of high achieving women who their drive is higher than their partners. Their libido is higher than their partners. And guess what? Therapy thinks then that she's the problem too. It's always man as default. Empathy, patriarchal structures, right? A lot of therapy and therapy models were created by men for men. So we have therapists that are trained in attachment styles, CBT, EFT, not systems of gendered power and power dynamics. And when power isn't named and called out, it's getting blamed on the woman. Do you know what kept me in an abusive relationship for years, thinking I was the problem? Fucking EFT, emotionally focused therapy. Okay? Works great, assumes when two people are well-intentioned, when two people have the same capacity, the same capability for love and care and emotional intelligence. You're here because you're a high achiever. You're here because you have super traits, right? When you leave a role, you need to hire 3 people to replace you. Okay, your capacity is so great. So usually you get leaned on, that you do more and you make the accommodation. Okay, the onus is generally put on the overfunctioner to do more. So it looks like this. It's like, okay, well, plan some date nights. You guys need time to connect away from the stress of it all. Well, who does the work of that? The overfunctioner. So now we've added more to her plate when really we needed the underfunctioner to step up. And then also when something goes wrong, because we are at our emotional wit's end, because we've been tolerating for years, we get blamed again. Like, oh, nothing's ever good enough. Then it's our high standards that are the problem. So we're in this loop. We're in this no-win loop. And again, our pussies are smart. She knows she's being gaslit. She knows she's not cared for. She knows she's not safe. So, of course, you don't want to have sex. Of course, when you're even being blamed in a system, in a model that doesn't work for you. And should I say that this is not all therapists? There are some that have done continuing education and work on these things, but a lot of times therapy does more harm than good for my clients. And I do want to say, I love therapy. I go to therapy and it has its place. And therapy harmed me when I was in an abusive relationship. Okay. And I'm not saying that all of your relationships are abusive, but therapy does not, if it's not doing harm, okay, it's definitely not helping. All of my clients have done therapy for years, sex therapy, couples therapy, no help, not unless these elements are addressed. Okay. And the second is codependency is not the whole story. So the truth is, you're not too much, you're not too needy, you're not too enmeshed, you're not too codependent. I was actually angry the first time a therapist said this to me because I didn't think I was codependent, learned about it in school, but then I gaslit myself for years to make myself think I was codependent and do the work. When the question that the therapist should be asking is this person capable of love outside of this relationship system if her needs were met? If even 30% of her needs were being met, would she feel safe and relaxed and supported? So what you're experiencing is a mismatch between your super traits. I'm going to put the link. I did a podcast on this. I'm going to put the link to the Super Traits podcast in the show notes so you can know what I'm talking about. There's a mismatch between your super traits and a partner who is benefiting from this imbalance. So super traits like compassion, resilience, patience, openness, agreeableness, like it's just fixing. Like you want to fix. You want everyone to be happy. So this makes you a magnet for men to expect to receive without reciprocating. And you've centered your relationship around him. And sometimes this isn't even malicious, right? It's the systems that we have been taught, which that's number 3. I'm going to get there in a second. Okay, so in therapy, we're talking about codependency or attachment wounds. But I am calling this a survival strategy in a system that is built towards you shrinking and you decentering yourself. And until we make sure that we look at everything through a trauma-informed lens, through a coercive control lens, through a power dynamic lens, it could be doing more harm than good. And again, maybe it's just not harming, but maybe you were wasting time, money, getting nowhere, and it's costing you your health and your well-being. The third reason why therapy has failed you as a high-achieving woman is it's men as default. Their pleasure, their comfort, their peace. We see this about sex education. Penetrative sex is default. And it is the same way, or it is the way that men find sex most pleasurable. Okay, by penetration. 2/3 of women do not find this the most form of pleasurable sex. So if all of a sudden we wanted to change it up on men and say, well, the way that you have sex, what sex is universally considered is licking your scrotum. I hope you can come like that, but if not, too bad, because that's what we're calling sex now. But we have this embedded fear. If we grow, if we change, are we threatening the relationship? And my client literally just had a therapist tell her that. Not to change because it would leave him or the relationship behind. Or at least that was my client's interpretation. I hope a therapist did not tell her that her own personal growth and development, like what's the therapist version of malpractice? Because that is messed up. But what you didn't hear, like, so you heard don't change, you're going to leave him behind. You didn't hear he needs to rise. He needs to step up. How can he meet you? How can we give you the tools needed to communicate so he can meet you? Pleasure-centered relationships allow you to grow together. So what do we actually need? I'm going to tell you, you don't need another diagnosis. You don't need to be blamed. You need the hidden reasons for disconnection, the hidden reasons for your low libido, the hidden reasons for why your nervous system and your pussy does not feel safe. You need connection to your body. You need to learn how to receive. Okay, and how are we practically doing this? We're naming power dynamics. Replace therapy's clinical language with truth telling. Are there power dynamics at play? Who is emotionally resourced? Who has capacity? Who's exhausted from carrying the relationship? Who's allowed to have needs? Who makes the decisions? Who makes the money? We need to look at all of these things because traditional relationships, traditional gender roles, it's women have power over men. And a part of the reason why these are a little more nuanced and a little more flipped on their head and why it's works even less for women like us is because we make the money. We're educated, right? They're not, a lot of times we're not even screened or we're not even looking for things in this way. So we need somebody to assess for power dynamics, and we need a place where our super traits are seen as sacred, where they're not shamed, they're not pathologized. Last I checked, my clients are amazing. Being in a room with them, being around them, their capacity to feel, to help, to heal, like they're just such capable, brilliant, beautiful women. So in the right space with the right tools and boundaries, these traits, they don't need to be tamed, shamed. They need to be honored. And we need to know how to use them and when to pull them back and when to give, right? Because we've just been taught give, 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 give. We've not been taught how to protect our super traits, and it destroys intimacy, right? When our tank is empty, we've got nothing left to give. No one's happy. Everybody's miserable. So how are we do that? How are we going to do this? I'm so excited to finally share. I've been working on this behind the scenes, the pleasure path assessment, a live intimacy mapping session to uncover your erotic shutdown style and a path to reconnection. So you've fixed your hormones, you've done the therapy, but you're still disconnected and feeling hopeless. Okay, if I spoke to you, if this episode hit a nerve, it's because you're ready for answers. Okay, and it doesn't mean you have to leave. It doesn't mean you have to change a thing, but you could exhale knowing what the actual problems are, what's actually getting in the way of your connection, your intimacy, your arousal, your turn on. So I want to invite you to join me for a live intimacy mapping session. We're going to uncover the hidden patterns keeping you stuck so you can stop spinning your wheels once and for all. Okay, this is you and me, and I am only offering this live for a limited time. We're working on creating this to be a tool that's going to help millions of women, give them the answers. Like, why am I so stuck? What's wrong with me? Am I broken? Is this as good as it gets? Guess I need to settle? No. We're going to help millions of women that are in the same position as you, blaming themselves, feeling broken. So based on my 11 years of working with thousands of women, is it hormones? Is it trauma? Is it nervous system dysfunction? Are you stuck in performance mode? Is it communication? Is it lack of sex education? Is there sexual shame that needs to be released? Are you carrying the weight of a one-sided relationship? Are there power dynamics? Are your super traits hindering your intimacy? This assessment, once we know where you're shut down, we will know how to get you to reconnect. Okay, and this is not some kind of like quiz. It's a mirror and it's a map. And you're going to get a pleasure path blueprint. showing you where things are going wrong and the next steps that you need to take to fix it. And you get to do it on a live call with me. This is for a limited time only. I want you to head to the link in the show notes and book one of these sessions. You're going to get a link to my calendar and we can do this assessment live together. You can finally have answers, figure out why there is erotic shutdown, and have a path to reconnection in your relationship. I created this tool because it is something that I wish I had when I was spending thousands in therapy, coaching, doing my own research, listening to podcasts. And if I would have had a tool like this, the time, the stress, the money, the cost to my health, what it would have saved me. So I want you to know, I want you to walk away with a pleasure path blueprint, knowing what's going wrong and what your next steps are to fixing it, so that you can be like one of my clients that I read their text messages, having great connected sex, being able to receive. It's possible for you too.